As the title suggests, this video is going to be the top 5 things that I hate about my 2017 Civic. And I don't want to get the wrong impression here because I've gotten some flack for this in the past. I do like this car and I'm glad I purchased it, but you know, as no car is perfect, there's always going to be something you don't like about whatever car it is you bought. And so this is mostly geared towards people that are thinking of buying one of these. It's always nice to know both what's good and what's bad about a car you're considering. So there will be a follow-up video to this. That's the top 5 things I do like about my Civic. But for now, let's focus on the things that have come up that I don't really like over the last 26,000 miles. So number 5 on my list of annoying things about this car has to be Lanewatch. And I've had Lanewatch on some other Hondas of mine, and you know, it's nice to be able to physically see what's in the blind spot, but it just makes no sense to me that you can only see on one side. So if you hit the button or if you turn the turn signal on, the screen will display what's on the right side of the car. A lot of other cars have sensors in the back and a light on or near the mirror that will light up if there's a vehicle in the blind spot. To me, that makes a lot more sense than a screen because it only shows what's on one side and you have to take your eyes somewhat off the road anyway to look at it. It just makes more sense to me to be able to know what's on both sides. If they had Lanewatch on each side, I suppose I could tolerate it quite a bit more, but being that it's only on that side is just super irritating. The number 4 thing about this car that annoys me is this dash trim. And the Civic Touring Coupe has a little bit different style here, and the SI has like a faux carbon fiber. But this has a brushed metal, and it looks cheap, it feels cheap, it doesn't look convincing at all, and it has like a purplish tint in some lights. I just absolutely can't stand it. Like I said, it just looks super cheap. Moving on then to the number 3 thing I hate about this car would be the instrument cluster. And you know, it's partially digital, it's got a screen in the middle and then 2 somewhat regular gauges on the side. And when I first got the EXT Civic, I was really excited to have this upgraded cluster. But you know, in all actuality, it's not that much of an upgrade from the base analog cluster. I think Jeep and Chrysler kind of have the best LCD instrument clusters. There's a wide array of gauges to show and all kinds of different things you can customize. But this is much more simplistic. There's not a whole lot of information you can display, and you can't change the color scheme, which wouldn't bother me so much if the radio was always the same color. But you can go in and change the color on the radio screen. You can make it red or amber, whatever. But the instrument cluster, you can't. So if you have a red backlit radio, that just completely is mismatched from the cluster. And it just doesn't seem like that much of an upgrade over the base analog cluster. So my number 2 thing that I hate about this car is shared with a lot of other owners as well, and that is the electronic parking brake. And I know it sounds cliche to complain about that because you can't rip the e-brake and do power slides, but to me there's a much more practical hatred for this setup, in addition to the power sliding, of course. So there's been a few times when I've hit the switch and I thought I engaged it, but it must not have hit it all the way, and I got out of the car and the car started rolling away. So now I just park it in gear every time to prevent that, but if I had a manual parking brake, I would just rip it and be done. I wouldn't have to worry about it. And actually on earlier 2016 model year Civics, there was a recall because the ABS module was waking up the parking brake after the vehicle was shut off and actually switching off the parking brake. Why would that even be a concern? That is just totally unacceptable in my opinion, and that is one reason why this electronic parking brake is just a complete load of garbage. I mean, even if I had a foot operated brake, that would be better than having this little switch here to engage and disengage it. The number 1 thing I hate about this car without a doubt is the clutch. See, it just has no feel to it, and when you get in any other car with a manual transmission and then get back in this car, it literally feels like something is broken. The clutch has no weight to it and it has no feel. It's just not communicating to you at all, and it just puzzles me as to why they would do that. Obviously cars are going towards this sort of soft, more disconnected route, but if you're buying a car with a manual transmission and you're choosing that over the CVT that they offer, chances are you're buying a manual because you actually enjoy driving. And so why the hell would the designers and engineers of this car think that if you enjoy driving, you want a clutch that has absolutely no feel and absolutely no weight to it? That just makes no sense at all. And it's just so stupid that this clutch has no feel to it. And on top of that, this car has an ECU tune, so it makes about 210 horsepower at the wheels, which is quite an improvement over the stock 174 at the crank, but the clutch slips now. On full throttle, not every single time, but pretty often, on full throttle, the clutch will slip. And there's actually been reports on the Civic X forum of SI owners stock that the clutch slips. Why? Why would the clutch slip from the factory? That makes no sense at all. And I'm pretty sure the clutch in this car is the same part number as the clutch in the SI. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe it's the same or maybe a very similar clutch. So again, the SI also has a terrible clutch. A car that's marketed as more of an enthusiast type vehicle has the same crappy clutch as this car, and that just makes absolutely no sense at all. So that was the top 5 things I dislike about my 2017 Civic. So if you have any questions or comments, just put it below.